This episode contains sensitive content. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Culture Podcast, where we uncover the hidden mechanics of high control groups, their tactics, and their impact. And we speak with the survivors who broke free. My name is Derek, and I'm your host.
My name is Trinity, and I'm also your host. On this podcast, we explore cult life as real people who have lived through the life-changing process of leaving a high control group.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am solo today. Trent has decided to abandon me, but I'm happy to be joined by a new friend of mine, Jordan. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So, Jordan, I met you on Instagram. I saw some of your content, and you asked me right before we started, what piece of content? And the initial thing I found was that hilarious recording of you with the Star Wars song.
Oh, okay.
So I just thought it was just great. Obviously, great voice. You have an energy about you as well. I just really enjoy. You really bring a positive vibe and nature to everything. So I'll probably link that or kind of put that out there so people can understand what we're talking about. But yeah, I think we've gone through such traumatic things, but I think you find a way to put some brevity on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I try.
And obviously, as we talk about your story and your journey thus far, like there's some shit. So I always appreciate when people find a way to recognize some of the pain, but also recognize it's kind of up to us how we respond to it and kind of how we move forward. And that's what I see from you from a distance. So I'm definitely welcome of your take on kind of where you're at with that, because you make content online. And so kind of where are you at in that space when you decide to kind of put yourself out there?
I hadn't even planned on doing it, really. I hadn't even planned on leaving the religion, but when I did leave, it was right after the beard change. And right after that, they kept making more and more changes, but a lot of them were like a slap in the face. And I could see them like actively lying to their members. And so at that point, I decided to just speak out, because to me, I'm like, you can't just lie to people and expect me not to say anything. I've always been like vocal about like kind of justice type stuff. And that just, it bugged me. And it's also been therapeutic to just talk about what goes on in my mind. Because if I didn't get it out, I would be probably in need of serious therapy. Like I still need serious therapy, but like extremely serious therapy. So.
This is part of your journey. So one of your steps, no doubt, of just kind of putting yourself out there. And I agree. A lot of people I talk with, myself included, it's therapeutic to put your message out there and to align with people in the community. So you know, like, oh, I'm not alone.
Right.
So people can kind of see where I'm coming from. But yeah, I just think it's really great. Now, I don't know if we mentioned or looked at it. I assume people understand you also grew up as one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right. Yeah, I was born in.
And the beard change is funny because we call it Beardgate on the podcast, because Trent, my co-host, always seems to bring it up. But it is a big thing for men. You know, it seems to be one of those things where logically you continue to look into the scriptures, and it's like there's nothing there.
No.
And then you get you get conversations from elders or ministerial servants. You get direction. Maybe it's stubble. And I got to get to the meeting, and then they talk with you like, hey, we want to look at, how we present ourselves. And you're just constantly in this state of like, but there's nothing in the Bible about this. Why are you guys enforcing this rule that God did not create?
Right. Yeah, he made our facial hair.
So that's one of those things that hit me as well. And obviously I have a beard and Trent has a beard. And, I think one of those things where you start to reclaim your agency is they had agency over our bodies.
Right.
Both men and women, as you start to kind of go like, oh, I'm going to grow that fucking beard. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. A lot of people get tattoos, and it's just like, I'm going to, like, my body is mine.
Right.
I'm getting my own agency back. But I do want to back up, before you kind of are at where you're at now. Well, first thing, how are you feeling now? Where are you at mentally now with everything?
That's a good question, because just the other day I had an incident with my sibling. So my little brother just moved out of the country 2 days ago. So and we all lived in the same neighborhood. So I have a twin. My twin brother's still in the same neighborhood down the street, and him and his wife and his new baby. So mentally, I was fine until until 2 days ago because I tried to say goodbye to my little brother, and he just wouldn't have it. He wouldn't respond. I went to my brother's house and knocked on the door because they live up the street from me, but they live in these townhomes that are like they're a few doors down from each other. I'm in the apartment side of the neighborhood, but it's still walking distance. So I drove over there, knocked on the door. My twin brother was actually responding to my text messages and stuff, but he was like, he wouldn't answer the door, home but hiding. And
Yeah.
my younger brother just wouldn't give me the time of day. I actually started getting a little harassy because I was like, I'm just gonna get desperate times call for desperate measures. So I called him a bunch of times, sent him a bunch of texts like, I'm not here to convince you of anything. Goodbye is one word. I just want to say goodbye, give you a hug. This could be the last time we see each other. I don't know where you're gonna live in this new country, and I'm not. I just made a video about this on TikTok about like begging for love, and
Yeah.
that's something that a lot of ex witnesses like you have to learn to do is just love yourself enough to not beg for unconditional love from these people who don't know how to give it. So like
Yeah.
I've been fine. I think a lot of people think I've been out for a long time because of how like measured I am with my emotions and how much I've processed things because it's a whole grieving process. And I think I'm kind of in the anger stage still because
Hmm.
like I've changed my parents' names and my phone. I don't call them mom and dad anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm mad at especially at my parents, my mom especially, because she was like one of
Yeah.
my favorite people in the world, and now she's like, there's sides of your family that you don't even know are there until you leave. It's like diabolical how they flip a switch. So
Yeah. Yeah. We talk often how it's this and that. It's the and. Like you can overall maybe feel a certain way, but then you have these moments where you're like, oh, I remember the loss. I remember what life was like, even though I was in this kind of controlling group. And it's really unfortunate, and it's hard for people that maybe don't understand. It's like, for me personally, it's losing a loved one in death, but they're still alive.
yep.
It's very mentally complicated, where if someone were to truly pass away, you can have that grieving process, and it's tough, but you do find a way to navigate forward. If someone's still alive but they're dead, at any moment they could contact you. It brings it back up. You kind of still want to reach out. It brings that back up. And so it's really tough. So I can definitely relate.
Hmm.
When you were telling me about that, I did have a question that came up, like with the thoughts of your brother, obviously a unique bond with a twin.
Yeah.
What were some of the thoughts that you have? Like, what were some of the emotions inside you, just kind of wanting, and the reaction of not getting maybe necessarily what you were hoping for?
So it's been interesting because when I do text him, he responds like 60% of the time. And with me being considered an apostate, like he's not supposed to respond at all. So to me, like I think there's something there to where he could wake up, or I don't want to get my hopes up, but he was disfellowship for like a year, and I
Mm,
was out of the house by then. He still lived with my family back then. So I experienced shunning him, and it was very interesting because I think I would have reached out sooner or later, even if he was still out, because we had like the same favorite band. So we had gone to this concert, and this was when he was disfellowshipped. And I remember like seeing him eye to eye and like just having to look away. Like we had some prolonged eye contact, but I couldn't speak to him. And I remember being jealous of like the worldly people who could talk to him.
yeah.
So I've experienced that shunning, but like to me, like that, it feels like it could be the strongest betrayal. To me, like I think my parents, it feels more of a betrayal because they gave me life. But for him, it's like I'm supposed to have the closest bond on earth
Yeah.
with my twin. We've been in existence the same amount of time. We came into existence with each other. Like, so it's been interesting. I had a video. I had two different TikTok accounts. I had one get banned. I had like 60,000 followers on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
had made a video. I don't know if you've seen the Sinners movie with
Mm-hmm.
Michael B. Jordan. I made a
No.
video in reference to that about I haven't seen my brother in so long with one of the songs from the movie, and it went super viral because I put videos of or just pictures of me and him and like since childhood up to now, and I blurred out like I put a picture of him and his wife and their baby, but I blurred out their faces except for my brother, just so people could see what we look like, twin wise. And it was like I'm sure you're familiar with TikTok, but if you go on the
Yeah,
sound,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, if you go on the sound that the video was under, I was like the second top video on that sound
Mm,
out of like tens of thousands of videos. So it got back to my family, obviously.
oh, yeah,
My dad was like, "Can you take that video down?" And I was like, "How dare you even speak to me?" Like, I didn't say all that.
yeah,
I didn't respond for a while so he could see how it feels to not be acknowledged. And then my brother did the same thing. He was like, "Can you take that video down? You put up my wife and son without my permission online." I was like, "No, I didn't. Their faces are blurred. You can't see."
yeah.
So it's
Well,
been
are you guys identical twins?
no, we're fraternal.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious your take because I wanted to kind of give my take, but
Mhm.
I want yours, and then I can go from there. Like the thought of you're the one out, but they get to make demands.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess what's your thought about that hierarchy?
It's like it's kind of a roller coaster because some of the time I'm like, some of the time I feel like I can make demands, but even with the like them asking me to take the video down, I didn't. I said no, I'm not doing that. The only reason it came down was because I got banned. And part of me is like, I'm curious, did they get me banned? Did they like report my account or something?
Oh, yeah. I feel like in Christianity as a whole, and this could apply to any religion, but just what I've seen the most part, living here in the US, people who are Christian or part of a religion, because they truly believe it is the truth, whatever form it may be, they always get to be the moral high ground that says, you need to do this because I'm right.
Hmm.
And I find the one that's oppressed and the minority, they and even someone who maybe say is atheist or agnostic, it's like I don't have a God backing my decision, so therefore it doesn't carry as much weight.
Right. Yeah.
And that equation always seems to be ridiculous in my mind.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that's the strongest thing they have is like that God backing, because especially with witnesses, like I think it's a very narcissistic religion, honestly, from
Mm,
the beginning. So I think the way that they exalt themselves and put themselves above everybody else, they aren't going to think they're wrong. They're never wrong. So you can,
yeah.
or like, they can't fathom somebody purposely leaving. Not just, I didn't get kicked out. I didn't get disfellowship. They were asking me to stay when I told them I was leaving. So they
Mm.
can't, it's just, they can't fathom, like, that's why they cut people off immediately. They don't even give them a chance to explain why. Like I made an entire video about why I was leaving and I put it on this site that you need a specific link to see the video. I didn't share it on my Instagram or whatever. It gave them an option to see it or not. And
Well,
so
that's
people like cut me off immediately. They didn't even give me a chance to explain why I was leaving.
yeah. There's a couple of things coming to mind. The way that Jehovah's Witness faith removes you is very suspect. It's very like you don't. People still in don't really know why, because yeah, they aren't given a chance to really kind of say. And I think it is truly to block the idea that people would choose to relieve or choose to leave the religion. And the other half is like, Trent and I often talk about like I don't feel like I'm an apostate,
Hmm.
but I know their definition is I am. And it's just like I'm literally just living my life, telling my lived experience and my take on things. And I'm also not sending this stuff to witnesses.
No, exactly.
But yet somehow is found or whatever, and then it's all like what? Like it's like I never shared this with you. So if someone sent you a link said, "Hey, this is apostate stuff," don't watch,
Right.
don't listen. It's like
Yeah.
you chose to listen.
Yeah. And I
But
don't like
yes,
meetings and harass people. And I see people at the carts like every weekend. I don't go up to them and like throw their stuff around. Like I am kind to people. I'm still a normal person.
well, my personal take is doing that type of I don't know communication with witnesses or people in a cult or a high control group only strengthens the us versus them mentality.
It's kind of
Yeah, it's counterproductive. So it's like I would rather just live my kind, purposeful, authentic, humble self.
mhm.
And if someone happens to come across this and they choose to, they're gonna see like even in these conversations Trent and I have had, it's very nuanced, it's very complicated. Like, I'm never bad mouthing the people that are in that religion
Mm-hmm.
because I'm cursed with a level of self-awareness that, maybe they didn't have it right growing up. They didn't have the answers. They didn't have the internet. They turned to something that they thought maybe was right. And, they locked in to what they believed was the right life course. And so I always say, like, they have pity for me. And it's like, I have pity for them.
That's an understatement.
And it's like, I have a level of awareness where it's like, I truly know what's happening to you guys. So I'm never going to treat any witness or former believer of some sort of high control group with any sort of malice or anger. It sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm thankful for anyone like yourself that broke free. It's not easy.
No.
And it's kind of an ongoing thing. You reestablish, you re-identify, and you're constantly like navigating, moving forward, knowing that you woke up to a different world than that which we were entirely raised in.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious to know a little bit about your foundation because I don't know. What was kind of like your early life like? What was your little journey until, maybe baptism and maybe that era?
So I was born in 1994 in Turnersville, New Jersey, where the Assembly Hall is. My dad was an elder before I was even born. I think my mom was pioneering. So they were like, they really believed in it. My dad went to Bethel in Brooklyn. And then he was like the Watchtower conductor probably for as long as I remember. So yeah, grew up in it, got baptized at 12. And then before that, like I believed in it. I think I had my first talk at like 7. That was back when we were doing like the whole, I think you had to read a portion of a scripture and then give a little explanation of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was way more nerve wracking than the kids now. Like the kids now know nothing about how hard it was back then.
Oh, yeah. I often talk about people forget, but we used to have the meetings with all the questions.
The review, they're kind of,
Yeah.
yeah.
Early days, that was brutal.
Yep.
And then it used to, then it's just like everyone's just emailing out the answers or whatever. But,
Yep.
Early days, it was like, oh shit, that's the meeting we're at. Oh, I forgot to do anything.
Yep.
But yeah, so you were baptized at 12. You were giving talks early at a young age. You were
Mhm.
an unbaptized publisher for a while.
Yeah.
And if anyone that's listening to this, these are all terms that maybe you don't understand. I do apologize. There are episodes in the past where we kind of talk about what some of these things mean. And so it does kind of suck because we'll just rattle these things off and people are like, what does this mean? But
Yeah.
so at that time, life was pretty good.
Yeah, I would say so. It's funny, like when I first started talks, like the only problem I had was at the same time I was starting talks, I knew what my sexuality was. So
Mm,
I'm bisexual. And that fighting that was probably the most grueling thing as being a part of the religion. Like, but life other than that was fine. Yeah.
that's another layer.
Hmm.
So early days, you believed in it,
Right.
but you were navigating this kind of internal conversation. What did that look like?
It was confusion at first because I was like, nobody's forcing me to be this way, but I feel this way and it's not normal. Like I had crushes on girls, but I'm like, I can't look away from these men. I don't know. I don't really know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had to resist that. And the religion is very homophobic. Like you
Mm-hmm.
had the young people ask articles and I would read those like often, like, how do I counteract this? How do I combat this? And it usually didn't work. It was just like shoving it down basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I find a lot of the witness literature very surface level. The Young People Ask book, or different articles, always kind of navigates back to this, like, just kind of, you have one choice.
right.
And the choice is the organization. And the organization just doesn't really provide a lot of true elements of navigating life.
Hmm.
It's always like a lot to bring people in, a lot of focus on bringing people in,
Right.
and then a lot of like carrot at the end of the stick, like just make it to the end and things will be great.
Hmm.
But what about all this stuff in the middle?
Right.
This is the stuff we need to learn to like navigate life now.
Hmm.
It always pained my heart to see someone, because I do remember growing up seeing a few people that I know for a fact that they were navigating their sexuality
Hmm.
and they just buried it.
Yep.
because they believed they wanted to make it past Armageddon and live in the new system of things, and swim with dolphins and play with tigers, and just like live in this fantasy world. And it's like they truly believed, like we all did.
Yep.
And even back then, it's like you'd think that would have started like my wake up process, but it didn't. It was
Mm.
just like, oh, it just sucks because I can see them not being able to fully be their authentic self now.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what your sexuality is, but if it didn't wake us up, it's not gonna wake you up because none of us we just powered through, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm straight, but I definitely understand people just be themselves.
Right.
And that's the thing that always hurts me is I've had many friends over the years who are gay or bisexual or whatever, non-binary, like,
Yeah.
and it's like I always even without knowing, it's like I've always had an encouraging mindset about like be your true self.
Right.
And yeah, so it always hurt growing up, and that's why anytime I see someone who's also out, it's like, dude, you're like double, triple out. Like
Yeah.
it's an extra layer
Mhm.
of identity. And I remember when I was waking up, and I was like, because I was PMO for a while, physically and mentally out.
Mhm.
And when you finally come out, it's like, oh, there's an alignment of like coming out of the closet.
Yeah.
It's a very similar mindset of I could not be my real self around anyone for
Yeah.
fear of shunning and losing everything.
Right.
And then once I choose to be myself, it's great, but I lost everything.
I didn't think about that. That's true. That's very true. The social
Yeah.
rule. But I wanted to say, I don't think it's not just homophobic, that religion. It's like sex phobic. It's sex obsessed, but sex phobic.
Oh,
Like they don't even let teenagers have thoughts, dirty thoughts. Like, come or like not even dirty, but like natural sexual thoughts. I think that's
so
why.
much sexual repression.
Yes, I think that's why Christianity as a whole, well, even just Abrahamic religions, there's a lot of pedophilia in those religions because people are so demonized. Their natural inclinations are so demonized that I think it leads to this what's the word I'm looking for? Sexual deviance.
Hmm.
That's I think that whole purity culture leads to that. To be honest.
Yeah, it's like we deep down, we know who we are.
Hmm.
And then these organizations or control mechanisms or schemes or religions or whatever you want to call it, these things put in place get rid of our true selves. And so it was said on a previous podcast by Natty, it's like a rubber band effect where
Hmm.
eventually it just like springs out. And it's like if you physically get to a place to allow yourself to be yourself, it's like you're going to go explore.
Right.
Whether it's sexuality or not, whatever's the thing that deep down is like, this is me, man, then you want to go bounce off and just go at it.
Right.
But yeah, the sexuality thing too is like, dude, just for anyone that's in any high control group, I feel you, man. I hear you. If you're listening, like it's very challenging when society tells you to be counter to yourself. I personally have a belief that sin is a construct.
Hmm. Yeah.
Sin was created to control.
Right.
And so it's like, what is sin? Like,
Hmm.
really, like, what is sin? If you're putting a rule that you as a man made, and then I break that man made rule, it's still man made. So I don't know. It just doesn't carry the same weight it used to.
No, I don't even believe in it. Like that was one of the most freeing things on top of leaving, Jehovah's Witnesses, but Christianity too. Like not believing in sin, the most freeing thing I've ever felt.
I know.
No
Yeah,
guilt
it's
whatsoever.
amazing. Yeah, it's super great. I totally agree with you. So
Yeah.
you're young, like what I guess what's the era of the wake up? What's the era of the doubts, the things you saw? What are some of those things in that time frame?
So I didn't really have starting. I didn't start doubting until probably 2023. I had heard about the CSA cases and the Australian Royal
Hmm.
Commission, and I watched a video, I think, of a former witness and like their account of things. And I didn't even realize that I had already watched it until I looked into my history. I was like, this video feels familiar. So I realized it was already in my history. So I had watched it a few times. And then I think that was kind of picking away at it. But I was also like, again, struggling with my sexuality. So I'd lost my privileges, got in trouble with porn at like 19. And then from 19 to 29, I just struggled with it off and on, like constantly. But I
Yeah.
was always open about it. Like a lot of brothers don't confess that that they watch it. Like my own friend, I think I clicked out of something. My own
You're good.
friend who was like a servant, I think by then, he told me, a lot of brothers watch porn, they just don't confess it. I was like, well, damn, I'm out here with no privileges and you're on the stage and you're doing the same thing I'm doing.
1,000%.
Yeah, that's not fair. So I was trying to draw closer to God. So I was trying to read my Bible more. And I started in Genesis. And the more I read it, I was like, I don't like this. This
Hmm.
doesn't, the whole story of Adam and Eve, I was like, that's not fair how he put that temptation there and then punished them for it. Like punishing them
Hmm.
for wanting knowledge of good and bad is very silly. And then just to me, like allowing your spirit son to deceive your earthly kids. Why? Stop him from doing that. But anyway, so I was reading that. I didn't like that. I didn't like how in the publications they would always paint the angels and Adam and Eve as white. I was like, you're saying that perfection starts with white people. I don't really like that either.
Yeah.
And what else? Oh, the Job story really struck me because I was like, that wasn't fair either. Because I looked at it from his kids' point of view, all the kids that died in the house. I was like, I told my mom, I'm not going to be willing to die for you to show your faith to God. Like, we get one life. I want this life for me. So
Yeah.
and she was like so struck by me saying that she didn't know what to say. But by then I had become agnostic just from reading the Bible by itself. Just the
So
and then
you're having these conversations with your mom at 2023, and or is this kind of all throughout kind of growing up where she's kind of consistently hearing this messaging from you?
no, I believed in it up until 2023.
Gotcha.
I and then I started kind of hinting that I was having doubts by
Hmm.
like the end of that year. This was like November 2023 where I was like awake. And then I didn't start talking to my parents about it until I was like days away from leaving,
Gotcha.
unbeknownst to them. So let's see, I'm trying to think of like time framing. I didn't last long being PMO at all. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
take it. The meetings were getting extremely boring. I was like one of the few people answering at the meetings. Like I would have a cap to where I'm like, if I answer again, I'm not raising my hand anymore. Like I would do 3 times in a meeting and people were just sitting
Hmm.
on their ass in the
Oh
meeting.
yeah. Once you
Um,
start to become really aware of the commenting and the commenters, you're like, dude, there's like 5 people that comment.
yep, every time. And they always
Yeah.
knew who to pick. Like they always knew they could rely on me to comment, but I'm like, I have a cap. You're gonna have to cut somebody else. Yeah. What else? What was I gonna say? So yeah, November 2023, I started reading Crisis of Conscience too,
Oh
and
yeah.
I was reading that at the hall because I was so bored that I
So you
was just
found the PDF, you were just on the tablet, like,
yep,
oh wow. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I had a privacy screen, so and
So
then
for real quick, for those that don't know, Crisis of Conscience was a book that was actually made by a former governing body member. The governing body is basically the rulers of the Jehovah's Witness organization. And so it's a major, major piece of the history and ones that are coming out to finally find that book because it's very telling.
mhm.
So the fact that you're reading quote unquote apostate material in the hall is pretty hilarious.
I felt like a spy. Like it was cool, and yeah, it was like thrilling. But the amount of evidence that he had in that book was just you couldn't refute it. Like he came
Mhm.
with the evidence, like with the articles from the 60s on, or even like the 1800s. He had articles from the 1800s. So I was
Yeah, he
reading.
was very studious, very, very good with documentation, literature. I mean, it's a wonder, and obviously, you know why he would be on the governing body and tasked to write some of the early literature. Just a scholar, really.
Oh yeah,
I'm curious your take. I always felt the governing body was so mysterious, and then oh, they're speaking with God, and they're in the private rooms and having discussions with the Holy Spirit, and it's like, man, that book kind of breaks down. It's like, no, they're not, dude.
half the time they don't open the Bible.
And open the Bible. It's literally just like a business meeting where some stuff's already predetermined. Men that maybe have more sway or power have a stronger voice,
Yep.
get a stronger vote. It's like there's no God in this at all.
Nope.
That was part of it that was pretty telling for me. So, and you said it already, but you are pretty early on your post Jehovah's Witness journey. I think it's really powerful to this early too, to put yourself out there and kind of tell your story, both, here with me, I'm thankful, and then, on your own personal accounts as well. It's tough, man. So you again, we've talked about it before, you have multiple layers, through this journey. Did you have moments where you talked with your twin, your dad, your mom, really expressing those doubts, expressing your sexuality? Were there any moments that you can remember where it was pretty impactful of how they responded?
Oh yeah, my family. The only person who didn't know about my sexuality was my younger brother. My twin, I told that I got in trouble with, I was watching like some gay stuff online. And I told him that, and he was like kind of flabbergasted. He was like, "Why are you telling me this?" But he knew probably a few years ago. My younger brother, I never told. And then, but he probably knows now because my twin asked me when I was leaving, like, "Are you going to be a bisexual man?" It's like, yeah, I should have said that's none of your business, but I was like, there's no reason to lie. And then as far as doubts go, I think my parents barely even tried to like, help me to think about what I was doubting because I did tell my dad about like how I felt about Adam and Eve and Job. And he just said, "Your thinking is dangerous." That was it.
Mm.
Didn't even try. And I told him over text because I had lived out of the house by then. But he was just like, "Yeah, your thinking is dangerous." Like he didn't try to sit me down and have a conversation. When I talked, but my mom, like, she tried to have a conversation. When I talked to her about Job and stuff, but I could just tell that her mind was like struggling to just understand how I was thinking like this. Like I
Yeah, I
saw the wall
think
growing up.
I think it's like they genuinely truly don't know how to have that conversation.
No.
Because they're not trained or equipped to do so. So
Hmm.
it becomes very dangerous. It becomes very like foreign. They shut down. And I also think about like, gosh, this is the type of like generational trauma where, it just so happens to be this generational trauma in the JW faith where it's like, gosh, like if I was in the same position, I would do everything in my power to see my son.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? To like figure out where he's coming from so I could be there for him in whatever way he needed.
Hmm.
And to find out, like my dad included, it's just like, you're just waiting for me to finish my sentence to regurgitate what you've learned through
Yep.
the Bible and Tract Society.
Hmm.
You're
Every
not
time.
actually seeing me. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And I think that's the really unfortunate thing is like they're just parrots.
Oh yeah.
And it's really sad. It's like, I wish, I'm the last of 8,
Wow.
half of it's step family, but it's like every child is out.
No way.
It's not a good track record.
Wow.
It's like you failed miserably and then were never able to see like, was it me?
Right.
Like this can't be like we all are like, no, this isn't the truth.
Mm.
Like you can't take a step back and go like, maybe let me do some assessment here,
Right. Was your dad
Uh,
older?
yeah. So not growing up, but he grew up and had his own issues, had been disfellowshipped and had issues growing up. But as he got older and I'd already moved out, was an elder pioneer and really loved being important.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Really loved all the we always tease all the friends, as they like to say, just surrounding him after a talk and coming to him for guidance.
Yep.
I saw from a distance that he loved being in that position.
Hmm.
And then when he got home, followed none of the advice.
Ooh. Oh no.
He, I just saw the real him, and I was like, "You're not what you're saying. You're not what you're preaching."
Hmm.
So that's obviously, that's a dime a dozen. There's so many stories of the mask that everyone puts on, and
Hmm.
him not being himself. Your real self's at home, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
putting on the priest. On
The
the
elder boy.
stage, but yeah.
Yeah. My dad. So he was an elder before I was born, but I think the religion breeds narcissists, and
Hmm.
especially like I think the older generation. I think a lot of our parents were like abused by their parents because
Hmm.
they didn't know how to love. So my dad, like, I think he found like a refuge in this religion, like, and solace. And a lot of men have this authority they're never going to find anywhere else. So I
Yeah.
think my dad wants that authority. And I think he believes that he's helping people. But at the same time, if you're like moving pedophiles from congregation to congregation, you're not helping. You're
Yeah.
counter, that's counterproductive to the other people you're helping because you're ruining children's lives by hiding these people. And these are people that I didn't even know were dangerous until my other friend who was out was telling me about people I grew up with who were touching their own daughters. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I never knew any of this. So like some of the time I question, can you be a good person and still be an elder if you know all these things that are going on and are not open about it? Like, and granted, some things are not everybody's business, but some things should be public knowledge, and they're not.
Yeah, the witnesses did a great job of covering that up while we were in. I always remember it was always the target was the Catholic Church.
Yep.
It's like, oh, we're great, but they look at them.
Mhm.
And then, basically every elder I've seen kind of tell their story, they deep down are like, yeah, it was not good.
Mhm.
And just, the things they made me do looking at the elders book, the book that the elders use for guidance, it's just like I had to just follow that. And they do a really good job of silencing individual thought. And you drone it up and you follow. And the moment you question, you're out.
Mhm.
And so I think it sucks because again, it goes back to my empathy is I know that they're like, well, gosh, I don't want to die in Armageddon. So maybe I just made a post, about that scripture in Jeremiah. It doesn't belong to us, to, even to direct our own step.
Mhm.
And it's like, you're constantly reminded that is like your personal thinking is wrong.
Right.
Turn to the organization. And so it's very cloudy. It's very confusing. But I also think just as much as there's many brothers that truly believed and thought, they were doing the right thing and they wanted to help, I do agree with you. There are many that are just not good men.
Yeah.
They're not good people. And they use the organization to, puff up their desire for control and power.
Right. Yeah.
And there's just too many casualties.
Mhm. What you said about individual thinking too, like I was always kind of an independent thinker, like since I was a kid. Like my parents were like, you were obstinate, like you wanted to do what you wanted to do. And I also like never liked being told what to do. So I feel like my parents should have seen this coming, but at the same time, like I didn't see it coming. I always thought I would stay a witness. But like, people telling me how to think or how to feel, like I picked that up when I was reading Crisis of Conscience and going to meetings, like how often they would say, don't we feel this? Don't we think that? Don't we appreciate? And I'm like, stop telling me how to feel. I don't. I don't feel that way. I don't like these meetings anymore. They're boring as hell. I don't appreciate these new publications that are saying the same thing that other publications were saying. Don't like all these changes. And that's why like the with the beard change, like that was the my family actually believes I left because of the beard change. That's what I heard from, which is what's funny. I'm not going to put her name out there, but somebody is leaving that is associated with my family, and she's telling me like your videos helped me wake up. So,
Oh, great.
but she
Great.
told me that, yeah, she told me that my family thinks I left because of the beard change. I'm like, no, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I knew I was going to
Yeah,
confirmed it.
yeah, I think there's a narrative they constantly create. It's like, oh, we want to go out there and be like the prodigal son, and
Mhm.
we want to go and just experience the world and have sex with everyone and do drugs and or oh yeah, it's just I want to have a beard and
Yeah,
I agree with you 1,000%. It's like, dude, that's just part of it.
yeah,
It's like when you really start to break everything down, there's a lot of unresolved questions, things that don't line up, things that just don't make sense.
hmm,
And it's like, okay, so now I'm just going to be myself. I'm just going to express myself. And part of that is, choosing to grow your hair out longer and, have a beard and do whatever the hell you want to do.
yeah.
Um,
Get earrings. That was a cool day.
well, and the other wild thing is it's like this shit's happening when we get older.
Hmm.
These first experiences are like, dude, I'm getting tattoos in my 30s.
Hmm.
Now me in my 40s, I'm getting, maybe a piercing. It's like this is the shit like kids when they were like 12 did when they got piercings.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, it's so amazing back then, I imagine. But
Mhm.
that's the thing that I also go through constantly is like the loss of time.
Yeah.
It's like once you realize how short life could potentially be, it's like I'm not wasting any more time,
Hmm.
because it could be a short life. I'd love to know that, if I pass and then you wake up and I go, oh, there's another thing. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But in my mind, there's no proof, there's no data that would prove that. So it's like, based on all I've been given, this is it.
Hmm.
So I'm curious where you are with that as well.
Yeah, the time thing. Yeah, it's rough because, like you said, with getting piercings and tattoos, like yeah, we missed out on a lot. Like, and growing up, we didn't believe we were, even though I've always loved Christmas. Like, Christmas is like, I love how nice people get. I love the lights. Like, the wreaths are beautiful. The colors are beautiful. So even like shopping for new stuff, I was getting emotional because I'm like, this is what it feels like to just Christmas shop. This is so nice. Like,
Hmm.
this doesn't feel demonic. This doesn't feel wicked. It feels like, being a part of the world, which is not wrong. Like, feeling
Hmm.
camaraderie with the world feels amazing. And they don't appreciate that. And I think it's funny, like what you said about like getting piercings and tattoos. Like, for us, it's like a milestone, but for people who grew up in it, they're like, oh, okay, cool. It's just another day. Like, when I got my earrings, my friends weren't as impressed as I wanted them to be. So like, and then I was a virgin until I was 29. I was just explaining that to some new people I was meeting last night, and they like ran away from me, like how flabbergasted they were. It's just, there's so many things that we could have been doing. That's why, like, it sucks for people who I've seen people who have left in their 60s or 70s, and I'm like, you're amazing for leaving at that age, but
Hmm.
you missed out on so much because of this cult, so
Well,
much.
the other layer of that is, it is technically so much easier to get out now
Yeah.
because there's an online support system. There's an immediate, I don't know, understanding that, okay, the decision I made is also something that many others made. I'm not alone. I
Hmm.
can understand with resources. Can you imagine being out in the 70s and you're like, I don't really know? Like, maybe I have this one crisis of conscious book
Hmm.
and, I can align with that, but like there's not really a lot out there.
Right.
And so it's an uncertain time. It's like, dude, you guys were amazing for getting out and just taking a stand for your own beliefs back then.
Hmm.
And I always feel bad because it's like they were the ones too. They're like, I'm gonna pick it. I'm gonna be out at the assemblies and conventions and try to do what I can to show these people to get out. And it's like
Right.
we didn't listen. you
No.
know, we were taught to be afraid of you guys.
Hmm.
The other thing I think about too is I find that other people, they really enjoy our curiosity at our ages
Hmm.
because that's supposed to kind of start being going away. And it's like, yeah, but it's as if I was born a couple years ago,
Yes, exactly. It really
you
is.
know? So, all the things I'm experiencing with a very curious new lens. So there's a lot of fascinating things that I come across where I'm like, oh, this is new.
Yeah.
This is amazing. And if you have the right mindset, it can be infectious for others around you because, like an older one watching a young child, you kind of tap into that energy
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, they're experiencing this for the first time, at 2, 3, 5, whatever. So it's a very similar thing in my mind where people are like, oh, like I'm having such a better experience because I'm feeding off of their love for this thing. So I just think it's great for other people around us as well.
Yeah. How long have you been out?
My wake up process started around 2018,
Oh,
and then I was officially out like around 2020, 2021.
gotcha.
So still relatively new as well. And I actually personally like fully moved on from this space. I was like, I got to do my own path. I got to, do whatever I want to do and kind of live life. And then, part of that journey away was eventually getting to a place where I'm like, okay, now I'm going to come back and do this.
Mm.
And that's kind of where I find myself at now, having these conversations, in hopes that people that haven't started the path like we have, to come across this. Cause I didn't have shit like this when I was coming out.
Hmm.
And I just think it would have been helpful, for any to do that. So that's why I've intentionally come back to kind of this JW space. Because I don't define myself anymore as an ex JW.
Okay.
I don't think it's important to continually define yourself as what you were.
Right.
So I say that was my past, but now I'm moving forward. So again, it's just kind of ironic that I'm lingering in this space, but I'm hoping it's for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're out. It's 2023. 2024.
Right.
What's kind of that era of your life looking like as you start to kind of navigate, the loss of some of the family and friends, and then the expected kind of journey moving forward.
So it all happened really fast. And it's funny, like in that era, my twin got married to a woman from Spain. And it was like they had the best relationship. It was like November 2023. And that was like a high for me, like that time, because her big family came from Spain, and we had like a big after party at the next day after the wedding. Like it was beautiful. And it showed you like, what the religion could do in terms of like, diversity of people and different cultures and stuff. Yeah. But I left 3 months after that. So
Mm,
all of that, like I had all these connections in Spain and France and England, and I lost all of that in like a day. Just because I said that I don't believe in the organization anymore. I just put that on my story on Instagram and lost like hundreds of followers the same day. And
mm,
people, it wasn't just new friends or, people I'd known for years. It was people I'd known since birth that didn't even try to talk to me. And that was like a betrayal. Because I'm like, these are people who I'm originally from Jersey. I live in North Carolina now. And when we were teenagers, we would go back to Jersey for like 2 weeks in the summer. And these are people we stayed at their houses. I've known them. They might have changed my diaper. So it was just striking to see so many people just cut me off. But it was also
yeah.
striking to see no matter where they were from, they would try to keep me in with the same rhetoric every single time. They
Yep.
sounded like robots. And it was like that confirmed to me that I made the right decision, because that confirmed that it was a cult. Like you guys are all saying the same things. And I'm like, I can refute everything you're saying with logic and honestly the Bible. Because
Yeah.
the religion doesn't fully follow the scriptures. They interpret it any way they want to and just keep changing it over and over. And they don't even see that the changes that they're making are causing me to leave. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't have become a quote unquote apostate if they weren't liars. If they weren't
Yeah.
lying about the changes that are supposedly based on the chariot, that are actually based on lawsuits and, you know,
Yeah.
getting their religious status taken away in Europe. Come on.
Well, the really great thing, well, one, we're very social creatures.
Hmm.
And so to lose the connection to a loved one,
Hmm.
it hurts, man.
Oh, yeah.
It sucks when the thing I equate it to sometimes is like you used to have that buddy in high school where you were constantly seeing each other in the hallway, passing class to class. And you always had the routine of the nod, the hey, the hand slap, every day. And you're like, that's my guy. And, sometimes you chat, personally hang out, whatever. But
Hmm.
then, you wake up the next day and you're waiting for that interaction in the hallway and they see you and they just turn away.
Yep.
And you're like, what happened?
Hmm.
Like what did I do?
Right.
And you're left in that. You're never given a full resolution. Even if you try to connect, and they just refuse to really give you their actual thoughts. And it sucks to be stuck in that zone, if that makes sense.
I mean, with the Zoom being a thing, like some of the time I would join in Zoom. Like I wasn't at the meetings as consistently anymore just because I didn't believe in it anymore. It was boring,
Mm.
and I knew it was a cult. So, and then I wasn't going in service as much. It also helped I lived outside of the territory, and so I wasn't like getting harassed by the elders or anything. And my decision was pretty quick. Like just days before I said I'm not going to meetings anymore, I was asking my parents how they feel about birthdays. And my dad was like, "How do you feel about birthdays?" I'm like, "Oh, never mind." Forget I asked. But I think they knew from that point, like after having the conversation about Adam and Eve and then the birthday, like I think they knew I was like on the outs. But then
Mhm.
by then, thankfully, I was starting to have a community because I was
Yeah.
on XJW Reddit. I joined the Liberati Facebook group. I don't know if you know what that is, but
Mm.
it's an XJW Facebook group. They kind of help with like they have meetups and organize stuff like that.
That's great.
Yeah. So I was in those spaces. And being on Reddit too, like, helped me really appreciate these people. They're not
Yeah.
apostates; they're just normal people.
Yeah, Reddit was huge for me too.
Yeah.
I remember at the start of the pandemic, I remember seeing it like 30,000 people
Hmm.
being on that group, the XJW Reddit.
Yeah.
And I remember checking in constantly. It was like 40,000, 50,000,
Hmm.
60,000,
Yeah.
100,000. And it's like, it just keeps growing. And it just warms my heart to know more and more people are waking up.
Yep.
The other thing I was thinking is, based on what you said, ironically, it's reactionary, some of these changes the organization is making,
Hmm.
but it's also waking people up.
Yep.
All these rule changes about beards and schooling and women can wear pants and, just all
Beard.
this weird stuff where it's like eventually people have a breaking point
Yep.
internally where they start to question things. And ironically, just making these changes, it's like, keep doing it, because every time you make another, little new light discussion, someone's going to eventually go like, really? Like, blood transfusions are okay now? Like, like something's going to happen.
Mhm.
For those listening at this point, that has not happened, but, 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 but they're going to just, have a little goalpost move, and things will change. And then, I personally eventually believe that this is just going to be like any other mainstream religion.
Mhm.
All of these extra rules will be gone. You can come and go as you please. Shunning will be a thing of the past, because they want those dollars.
Yep.
So I think, people like us that choose to leave and, take the hit, eventually being a witness will be like, you don't know how it was.
Exactly. No, seriously, because it's unrecognizable now. I
Mm-hmm.
don't recognize that religion. Like, if I went back into the hall today, I'd probably be like, "What is this?" Like, the no ties, the beard. Like, anytime I see a beard on these videos, I'm like, it just irks me. It really does,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the governing body. I'm like, "Fuck you, come on."
Yeah, they're all of a sudden rocking beards all the time. It's like,
Goatee.
man. Well, and the whole governing body thing is like, how many new ones are you gonna find that are, oh fuck, I'm forgetting the word, which is great. Like inspired? Like, no, like,
Oh,
I can't believe I forgot it. They're like, gonna be up in heaven.
oh, anointed.
Anointed. Oh my gosh. I love the fact that I'm forgetting. Like, how many new governing body members are you gonna find that are anointed?
Mm.
Like, it's just constantly, it's supposed to be a smaller number. And then it's like, now there's like a 40-year-old guy that's anointed. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Oh,
just
so
like, okay, like,
they're supposed to be dying out, I
they're
thought.
supposed to be dying out.
Yeah.
Like, so you're out, you're fully out, you start having these new experiences, you're connecting with a new community.
Mhm.
My curiosity, as we mentioned before, always gets the best of me. If you don't mind me asking,
Mhm.
how was finally being able to have sexual experiences, and, any way you want to take this, real, genuine, authentic life experiences,
Mhm.
being fully out?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
I don't want to get like explicit,
Sure, sure, sure.
and plus, I know there's some witnesses who still aren't used to hearing about like gay stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't want to like coddle homophobia, but at the same time, like, I'll say I haven't had sex with a woman yet. It's been primarily just men.
Yeah.
So, and women scare me a little bit. I don't know why, but they're still like there's still this Jehovah's Witness like fear of being intimate with a woman because of how they demonize like even looking at a woman. Like, there'd be elder sisters looking over your shoulder at your phone, like, "Oh, you have a woman in a bikini on Instagram? What are you looking at?" Like, it's not even
Mm-hmm.
pornography, and they're like, "Oh, you're wicked." Like, so I still have to process that because I still want to be with a woman, but it's just like men are a lot easier to they're I think men are more sexual than I think, but
Yeah.
women are like, you have a danger aspect with it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not as easy for them to just come to your house or do. So my first experience with it was with another bisexual guy, and it was great. And then I've had like other experiences with more than one person, and I was like, this.
Oh, that's great.
I was
I just,
this.
again, I just think like sexuality is part of our DNA. So it's like being able to, I have zero shame or guilt
Oh
for
yeah.
anyone that wants to explore what they want to explore.
Hmm.
So being able to do some of that, what was some of these experiences with people that knew like what you came from?
Oh yeah, all my friends know.
Yeah, that's great when they me personally, when they know the extra layer of it, where to some extent they're like, "Let me show you what's up. Like, let me
Mhm.
show you life." And not even just the sexual aspect, like,
Right.
"Let me show you this other stuff over here." And it's like I've found people in my journey that I have opened up to, and they're always so caring. They're like, I want to show you what Christmas is like.
Yeah.
I want to give you a birthday party. I want to, and it's like, gosh, this is the love that we said wasn't here.
Right.
You know what I mean? They told us everyone is, the devil's running the world, and everyone's just it's so dangerous out in the world. It's
Hmm.
like, no, it's not, man.
Yeah. And it was always like everything was consensual and measured, and like they were kind about impatient. Like, yeah, exactly. They make you demonize these people. And I remember one night I went after the club to a friend's, and they were doing some substances that I didn't really want to do. But he had some gummies, and he was like, "You could try a gummy, just take half." And I forgot to take just half, and I took the whole thing. And that was my first experience with anything. And I thought I was
Mm.
going to die.
Oh my
It
gosh,
was
yeah.
really bad. And I thought, like, so he was trying to calm me and ground me. I thought he was trying to hypnotize me to do something to me
Mm.
because those substances make you more paranoid. Plus,
Oh,
you
for
got
sure.
the Jehovah's Witness paranoia. So I had to call my friend to come and pick me up because I was like, he's going to do something to me. Help me. But my friend now, like, he was so apologetic. But now I'm like, I had to apologize to him because I was like, it was the religious paranoia and the drugs. Like, it was not your fault. You were actually trying to
Yeah,
help me, and I didn't know. So that's a learning curve. It's like when you don't experience something, you don't know what to expect. And now I know THC is not my thing. I can
yeah,
try other things, but like I've had a second experience where I was like in and out of consciousness, and I was like, I can't do this. I need to try.
yeah. People don't understand. To some people, THC at a higher level can be kind of hallucinogenic
Hmm.
and be a very, very intense experience.
Yes.
It's like, and other people are like, "Oh, I'm chill." It's like,
Yeah.
that's you. You
Mhm.
know, other people's bodies react completely differently.
Yeah. I like to feel in control of my mind. That's why I don't get drunk often. And even getting drunk is a different feeling than THC.
Yeah.
Like I don't feel an out of body experience with THC. And I had ketamine in the hospital when I broke my wrist. They to put it back in place, they used ketamine. And that experience wasn't even as bad as the THC, to be honest.
Wow.
That experience was like it was bizarre, but kind of felt like I was in a dream. Like, like the tiles on the ceiling were like curving, and I felt like I was a part of the tiles. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. No,
But
I totally get it.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, everyone kind of has a unique take. It's similar to, some people, if they have a drink of alcohol, they go down this crazy path.
Hmm.
And some people can just have a drink and be like, yeah, I'm good.
Yep.
Me personally, like caffeine, I can have caffeine right before bed.
Same.
Totally fine.
Yep.
And then other people are like, really? Like I would be up all night.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, we different.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought when you were saying that is there's a parallel to Mormonism.
Hmm.
I've spoken with Mormons where, like, because they can't have caffeine,
Yep.
and then the first time they're going to like have coffee, they're just like, what do I get? I don't, like, how much do I get? Like, there's this air of like unknownness where it's like, all right, go in gently, don't have a triple espresso.
Yeah.
You're going to be bouncing off the walls. But yeah, you're thankful for, I don't want to put like a mindset of like the world does have terrible in it. There are terrible people. You
Hmm.
do have to be cautious. You
Right.
don't want to just, oh, everyone's great. There are people you got to be careful about, but there are a lot of people who are like, dude, I got you.
Hmm.
I'll show you what's up. And so it's great when you can find those people in your life that are willing to invest.
Hmm.
Um, and it's pretty great. So I do kind of like, where are you at now? So it sounds like you're starting to and have a good community.
Hmm.
Where are you at now with everything, with your friends, your family, your goals? Yeah, I'm just kind of curious of where you're at in this phase of your life.
I think I have a good friend group. I have like my rugby team friends, which only some of them are actually friends. A lot of them are just teammates. I got my LGBTQ friend group, which is very varied. I like that friend group. And then I have a friend group I got through like my friend Micah. So I have a friend who was disfellowship like probably a decade and some change before I left. So I rekindled my friendship with him. I reached out to him and was like, he's been a pillar in my life after leaving. So he
That's great.
introduced me to his friends from like this volleyball group. So I've been really close with them too. Spent Thanksgiving with them. Yeah, so that's been really nice. Goals wise, I need to like actually set some actual goals because I have so many things that I want to do, but I have ADHD, so I need to like I start projects and don't finish them a lot. I've wanted to start like a clothing company for shorter men because I'm 5'5", so short guy. I kind of want to get into acting. I do music, you know. So I've had so many things that I want to do. I have a friend who's like, he does open mic a lot and he's really talented. He's like, you need to do open mic. But it's like so nerve wracking for me. I need to just try it. Like karaoke is one thing, but like playing my music, it's like opening your heart to people. And it's very nerve
You're
wracking.
talented, man. With the stuff I've seen you put online, great voice, good talent.
Thank you.
I've heard some people say to try to do an improv,
Mhm.
because there's some structure there that, allows you to not be so rigid in whatever you're performing,
Yeah.
but it kind of gets the juices out
Mhm.
to kind of like start, putting yourself out there on stage. But yeah, I think I get the ADHD. I understand.
Mhm.
But it's like, yeah, I think there's something nice about creating whatever form it may be, even if it never gets put out there. I think is an important part of life. We in this society are often just consumers.
Mhm.
And there's something really powerful about creating that I think is healthy to do so.
Right.
So hopefully you land somewhere with that. That'd be great. And obviously I'm following you, so I look forward to seeing what happens.
Thanks. Yeah.
If if you were able to kind of say a message to friends, family, your twin that maybe one day find this podcast, this would be a time. What do you think that you'd put out there for them?
Well, I've told them this, but I will never hurt you. Like, anytime I put a message out there, it's not to hurt you or embarrass you. If I want you to speak to me or have me in your life, it's not to convince you to change your beliefs. If you want to be a Jehovah's Witness, be a Jehovah's Witness. But cutting people off, shunning them because they don't want to believe in one out of the tens of thousands of denominations of Christianity is wildly crazy. It's not
Mm-hmm.
natural. It's not normal. What else would I want to say? Look into your religion. Look into the God of the Bible, where he originates from. Look into why you believe the Bible is the ultimate truth. That's what I would say. And don't allow people to demonize your brain, your thoughts. If you have doubts, don't listen to that kingdom melody that tells you to push them down. Allow them to be there. And it's not the devil, I promise you. It's not Satan. Satan's not real.
Yeah.
I think there's a saying about that being his greatest trick is him not being real, but he's not.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any evidence that he is real. You might have like paranormal videos, but those are videos. Prove to me that's real. Like,
Yeah,
so
I think that's beautiful. I think that's great.
yeah.
My mindset goes to, ironically, I always said test your faith.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, so you're going to live a life according to the scriptures and God, go back and test that and really look into the material and the origins of the material.
Right.
And, people always tease me that I'm always about the origins of everything. I'm like always trying to like, where did this start? Where did this begin?
Hmm.
Because of how I grew up, how we grew up is like, I'm very skeptic.
Hmm.
I'm gonna be skeptical. But if I find the data that allows me to go, okay, that makes sense, I'm great. It's fine.
Hmm.
But as you said, there's 10,000 versions of Christianity. Like even Christianity can't get it straight.
No.
So it's like if you're choosing Christianity, how do you know your specific version is the right one?
Hmm.
And inevitably, people don't actually test. They just go, this seems right, and they kind of, okay, I'll move forward. And I'm 100% okay with that as long as your version of whatever faith you're doing doesn't hurt anyone
Hmm.
and cause these shunning practices or, whatever the case may be. But 9 times out of 10, it usually does to some extent.
Hmm.
And that's where the equation always never works for me personally. And it just sucks that people don't have that mindset to go like, okay, if I'm going to go down this route, how is Christianity the one when it didn't come on the scene for thousands of years later than other religions?
Hmm.
It's not even the first religion.
Nope.
So it's like if God was out there, he's like, hey, for thousands of years, it's fine that these other pagan religions exist. And then now I'm going to eventually, finally come on the scene and create Christianity.
Hmm.
There's just all these problems in the history of things that just never seems to sit right with me. And there would be more credence to it if like there was one Christianity.
Right. Yeah.
You, it's like even your version, God, people have taken and go, I'm going to kind of go off on this path, and this is going to be this version.
Hmm.
So yeah, I don't personally, like I told you, I personally find these conversations, it's not about doctrine, it's not about this and that, but there's just little blips here where it's like, this doesn't make sense.
Hmm. And we basically signed a contract when we got baptized. And to me,
Hmm.
I was holding up my end of the deal. Like, yes, I was sinning here and there, but I would confess it. But like to me, if you call something the truth, it cannot change. And they have changed it a bajillion times, and they're going to keep doing it because they keep prepping you to accept whatever change they fucking make. So
Yeah.
ask yourself, are they, what is the word I'm looking for? Living up to their end of the bargain? Are they, doing their part of the contract? Are they holding up to their part of the contract? No, they're not. So, don't bash me for
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I can change. And then the moment I change, it's wrong.
Mhm,
And then the moment they change, like say the beard thing,
mhm,
all of a sudden it's fine and it's right. It's like if that was the one thing I did, and that's not it. But if I was like, beard's bad, I'm leaving,
mhm.
you know, and then maintained a very similar lifestyle, whatever, never did anything in their minds that was scripturally wrong,
Right.
and then they changed the beard thing, and that whole time they were like, you're bad, you're an apostate. It would be like, okay, so now technically beards are okay. Like now, where do I sit in your mind?
Exactly.
It's just altogether just doesn't make sense.
No, that makes no sense.
So you would define yourself as agnostic.
Yes.
Now is that evolving? How did you land on that? Where are you at with all that now?
It's because I still see things as being created. Like I still see design, in my opinion, but I cannot prove that there is a creator, especially a specific one, especially one specific to Christianity. So I'm not dogmatic about there being no God. And I'm not going
Hmm.
to tell people like there is no God, blah, blah, blah. Like I can't say that. But I can say I don't believe in the Christian God. So yeah,
Sure.
I'm agnostic.
Did you start with atheism and then move towards agnostic, or that's
No.
kind of where you started?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just started at agnostic and haven't gone anywhere else.
Yeah. And so with that mindset, what's your thought about mortality and death?
I don't know where we go after. I don't have any basis to think we there is somewhere to go, but I feel like there's so many beliefs out there that I want to kind of explore. And isn't there some kind of idea that energy just never goes away or something? I guess
Oh
we'll
yeah.
find out. I don't know. Like I would like to just spend the life we have here and do my best to enjoy it. And I think that's what the average witness or Christian doesn't do because they're living for a future
Hmm.
life that they it's not guaranteed. I'd rather live for now,
Yeah.
which is what I told my
Well,
parents. They were like, "Well, we're gonna live for the future life." I'm like, "Okay, all right, you do your thing."
I feel like it's like someone that's like, I'm gonna finally start traveling when I retire,
Yep.
and it's like you're gonna start traveling like in your late 60s. Like there's amazing things. You're not even gonna be able to climb that mountain.
Nope.
It's like it's too late.
Hmm.
It's like you have this belief that you're gonna live later. Even if you believe, like, why don't you live now and later?
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's a weird equation. So I guess as we close out, it's been really great to chat with you, get to know you better. Like I said at the outset, like, I can see and feel your energy online. I think you're such a positive person in this space. I do hope that you continue doing what you're doing. We're all kind of a little different. I'm a little soft, I'm a little quiet,
Hmm.
a little introverted, but I think we need all people on all spectrums to kind of make this melting pot of the world work.
Yeah.
So really appreciate you coming on today, putting yourself out there and just being genuine. I'm appreciative for you to, be authentic and just it just seems like you're really living. And I empathize and understand that while you're also living, you're not forgetting all the things you've lost,
Mhm.
and all the things that you've had to deal with, and just in terms of all of that. So I can feel you, I can hear you, and yeah, just keep trying. I would definitely recommend, you teased about it, talk to someone.
Mhm. Yeah.
Eventually find that space to find that right person, and you may go through a couple. That's just my personal opinion. Try to find those people that you can really talk shit out with, because talking is really helpful as well as doing.
Right.
As we close out, any kind of final things you want to say? Really enjoyed our time.
No, other than thank you for having me. I really appreciate you reaching out, and this was cool. I like doing these kind of things.
Yeah, you're always welcome back, even if it's as a guest with maybe someone else we're chatting with. Yeah, it's always good to have different voices on, different takes.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's been great getting to know you more. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you, Jordan, for being on here. And to everyone that's listening, we know time is valuable. So this last hour, hopefully it was meaningful for you. And we'll talk with you soon.
Thank you for joining us on this journey in this era. If you found today's episode valuable, please share it with someone who might need it. Check the podcast description for our socials and other information.
Please consider supporting us at Patreon at patreon.com/culturepod. If you'd like to tell your story, please contact us at cult.ture.pod@gmail.com. Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay free.